Welcome to the We're Not Blowing Hot Air podcast, powered by Oxygen Plus, featuring amazing athletes and wellness-minded individuals who share how they elevate their everyday lives.
On this episode, we kick it off with professional soccer player Samantha Johnson, as she shares with us how Oxygen Plus is fueling her performance and recovery to stay at the top of her game. Tune in as we learn more about her career and talk about all things soccer. Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to episode 4. Welcome, Lauren.
Hi, Ben. Great to see and hear you
Yes.
this morning.
Happy first day of summer to all our listeners.
It's the solstice.
It is the longest day of the year. So make sure you go out, take advantage of it, and take advantage of the nice warm weather. So
Absolutely. And who is our guest today, Ben?
we have a pretty special guest today. Another amazing athlete that we got connected through Market Price. So shout out once again to Market Price.
Yep.
Just some amazing athletes and individuals on there. So love being able to use that platform. So today we have a super special guest. We have professional soccer player Samantha Johnson. Welcome to the podcast, Samantha.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. How are you doing today?
Oh, just fabulous on this early morning. I didn't realize it was honestly the first day of summer. Honestly, I totally forgot.
And you're in one of the sunniest states right now, right? A little earlier than we are.
Oh my gosh, sunny. It's hot. It's like 110. I'm in Arizona.
Woo. Right now it is?
It's We
Oh
have
my.
like 110 days, then it cools off, to a 100, and we're like, oh, thank God.
You're putting on your parkas and your jackets.
Oh my God, it's ridiculous. I don't know how I feel about it.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So here in the Midwest, like we're obviously based in Minnesota, but
Yeah.
we don't get like the warm up into our seasons. So basically when summer hit, we've already hit like 100 degrees. So there
Oh my
was no
God.
like, oh, nice sunny 75
We
sunny.
used to, Ben.
We used to, but
I'm a little older than you. And
yeah, but
before,
now we don't.
all this global changing happening. We used to have beautiful the Four Seasons. You ever
Yeah,
hear
it was
that,
true Four Seasons.
hotel chain. It's
Yes,
what it's named after.
The Four Seasons. We don't have that anymore, unfortunately. So it's like you either get super hot, or as soon as winter comes, like here's negative
it's true.
30. We'll throw a blizzard in there. Welcome to winter.
But we
Oh,
can
dear.
handle it. I mean, I think that's part of what our DNA in the Midwest, we're pioneer. We have to get tough, but you're tough too. So let's shift the focus back to you and the reason that most people are probably listening to this episode.
For sure. Well, the first question is how do you O plus?
Well, actually, I O plus on a daily basis because at the moment I'm pregnant, so I get out of breath. Yes, a little
wow.
more than usual, right?
Mhm.
Thankfully, I'm still fit, and I had a good foundation of fitness before
sure.
pregnancy, so that was good. But I actually, when I came across you guys, I was like, oh, this looks like a very good product to add to my lifestyle in general, not just soccer,
sure.
So I was like, okay, because I'm always looking for ways to kind of enhance myself personally, but obviously since I'm performing at elite level, any gain you can get is critical, right? So
sure.
I use it on my
Wow.
walks. I use it during and after my workouts, just for a little extra, you know what I mean? Because obviously our cardio is
Oh my
extremely
gosh,
important.
yes.
And so it's kind of nice just to feel like you can recover quicker. Yeah.
Amazing. Would love to hear that. And in fact, it's not the first time we've heard that our customers who are carrying a child say that Oxygen Plus really helps just keep their energy levels topped up. That's because
Yeah.
the baby is sharing everything.
Oh, it's stealing every part of me.
Stealing, sharing. Yep. I guess stealing's more apropos. And then also including the oxygen. And
Yeah.
and that's great though. And really one of the benefits I love about our product line is that we have so many different sizes. So you really can put one in the stroller, when you get a stroller.
The skinny
Yes.
is the best, especially when I'm on my walks because I just hold it, so it's super
Cool.
easy.
So great. Yeah. So that's fantastic. Well, yeah, thanks for sharing. And we are really glad that you found us and that more athletes who are caring about their overall health are really using the product.
For sure.
So that's amazing.
100%.
Especially to stay at the top of your game, especially for soccer where it's a super important thing, especially fitness. I think soccer is just one of those sports it's just like every sport, like football, you gotta work out, you gotta get stronger and things. But soccer is just one of those interesting things that if you take time off and you don't consistently train, you're gonna notice it, and you lose like fitness, and you lose kind of
Yeah,
that
you lose it
stamp
pretty
so
quickly.
How many
quick.
days? How many
Oh,
days?
Oh
you'll
my
notice
gosh.
a couple of days
Oh,
probably,
Yeah,
like
it'll just feel like more difficult. Like if you like
mhm.
go a couple of days or even like a week, because like you can maybe you play casually. Even if you play
Yeah.
casually, you'll notice like when you pick it up again because your
Mhm.
brain remembers like, oh, I can play at this level. So you try to
Yes.
like go back at the same level, and your lungs are like, no,
wow.
not exactly.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
it's a huge thing. And like diet is obviously another important factor. So
Yeah.
it's incredible that what you're doing to stay at the top of your game, and we love to hear that Oxygen Plus is kind of helping you
Yeah.
to get that competitive advantage, because it is a huge shift for you thinking about your like professional career. And hey, like as soon as I have this kid, like I need to be able to get back to that top level
Oh
and
yeah.
transition. So
Mhm.
that's
And keep up with the kid. Right?
Oh
double
my
time,
god.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Well, why don't you share just kind of a little bit about who you are, kind of what you do, and where you're from?
Yeah, so obviously Samantha Johnson. I'm actually from Palmdale, California, which is inside of Los Angeles County. So definitely SoCal girl, but I grew up there, born and raised, and then I got a scholarship to play at USC in SoCal. So that was cool. So I pretty much spent like the first like 21 years of my life kind of based there. Like I travel a bit for soccer and stuff when I was younger, but
Sure.
mostly living there. And then I became professional in 2013 or 2014, sorry. And then I moved to Chicago. So I played in Chicago for 5 years.
Okay.
And then, so yeah, so I know a little bit about the Midwest
The
weather
Midwest.
struggle.
All
Yeah.
right. All right.
And then, so yeah, so then pretty much kind of like back in the day, if you will, when the NWSL was like just starting out, we would do like the NWSL during the year, like March to October or March to like September, October. And then we would all go, not all, but like those of us who can find contracts, we would go to Australia because
Oh
Australia's
wow.
summer is opposite of ours.
Mhm.
And so we would play in that league so we could keep year round playing like our fitness and stuff.
For sure.
So that was cool. And then now I kind of just evolved. Obviously, I'm on the older side of things now. So I've evolved basically where off the pitch, I work with students basically to help them develop their college and career pathway. So I just help them build like
Mm.
resumes, cover
Oh, that's
letters,
awesome.
and like stuff like that. And it's mainly for students who are in juvenile justice system.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah. So that's what I do like off the field. So I do obviously I'm hands on with that now because I don't have to play and travel at the moment. So I'm
For
taking
sure.
advantage. But
Yeah.
fitness and soccer is right around the corner and in the back of my mind. So I'm
Right.
like, okay, let me stay on top of everything.
It's a lot to handle, I bet.
Yeah.
But that, yeah, no, that's really cool. Certainly that is a really cool thing that you're doing. What kind of got you into that, helping kind of with the juvenile and kind of the cover letter and resumes and things like that? Kind of what inspired you to get into that?
Yeah. Well, I own a brand called Better. And basically like it used to just be me giving out like the wristbands to the kids when I went to go do like speeches or like appearances and stuff because I wanted them to
Mhm.
have something. And I would always tell them like, you know, in order to establish like kind of like that accountable mindset, like just to try to be better each day type of
Yeah.
speech. And then it kind of evolved because like off the field, I was working on like extending my education and like getting my master's and my doctorate and stuff. So I was like, okay, I think I figured out like how do I want to like sustainably like help kids and students,
Yeah.
So it's predominantly for high school kids because like they're closer to the door of like real world, so we
For
talk
sure.
about like goal setting and they do all these worksheets and like it kind of just like evolved over the last my whole career really like almost 10 years and be like, okay, now I've understood exactly how like I want my business to go and how I want to impact the kids. And so it's pretty clear now, which is kind of nice.
So how are you hired by like private prison systems or like entities that are like philanthropically aligned to kind of get you into some of those systems, or how are you like actually getting in front of some of the youth?
Yeah. So I basically just kind of like have networked my way to like knowing good people who work with the demographic. And then if they have a need for this type of program, they pretty much can just hire like my business, if you will. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
sure.
So you're in
Yep.
the circuit. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
amazing though.
much.
I mean,
Yeah,
like
so
to get there and to be received, and that, I mean, that's,
I
I haven't
know.
done that work, but I can imagine it's not easy work.
Yeah.
So that is quite impressive.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. Playing soccer helps.
Yeah.
I just kind of use soccer to network.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. I bet. Yeah. I mean, especially like kids at that age, like especially going kind of that high school transition into college, like they have so many things going on, and being able to be
Hmm.
a light into these kids where, maybe they have a rougher past, or their upbringing isn't, typical or whatever, but being able to
Yeah.
be a light to these individuals and kids is huge.
Makes
So
a difference.
that is,
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
love hearing that. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. That's so great.
Yeah,
Very
no, it's pretty
cool.
cool.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, and maybe you've answered it, but maybe not. Another question Ben and I love to ask is, if there was one thing that you did to really elevate your life to reach what you define as success, and that can be in soccer, it can be as a mom, it can be as your work with like helping the juveniles like have more inspiration and direction and focus in life, what do you think the one single thing it is about you that's really made the difference?
Um, so I think it's kind of like a little bit of a cocktail, like personally, but then I think it gets received as like maybe one thing
for sure.
outwardly, you know what I mean? Because I pretty
Mhm.
much focus on like, I kind of like to think of life and like people as like we're best when we're balanced, you know? So
Yeah.
I like pretty much, and this mentality has pretty much just carried me through like my career, because
Mhm.
obviously it's hard to like, balance school and sport, or like school and whatever people do, like
Mhm.
extracurricular or anything. So it always requires some sort of balance. So I'm like, okay, what's my like perfect like cocktail, whatever. I'm like, okay, if I can be emotionally, mentally, and physically balanced, because those are like my categories of
Oh, for
performance,
sure.
if you will, then
Yeah.
I can probably try to be like my best self for like, first of all,
Mhm.
Yeah.
myself, but like others.
Yeah,
So
for
I was
sure.
like, okay, so obviously it's like, this is not an overnight thing. This is like a lifelong struggle. And hence,
Right.
like, I'm saying it now, but I always like am mentally aware and trying to like work on those things and make sure they're
Mhm.
balanced. But
For
like
sure.
people always tell me like, Sam, you just seem like, because I'm kind of like carefree. I'm like kind of like social butterfly and like
Yeah.
just so happy and annoyingly optimistic.
Right.
But I think it's because I'm balanced. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
so much work on like the inside that I think people on the
Yeah.
outside are like, oh, she just seems like she just has it all together. I'm like, girl, you don't even know how much work has gone into
Right.
this.
You
You know
see
what
the
I mean?
backside. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's like if you do a lot of internal work, like self work, then I
for
think
sure.
people can receive like all the positive energy that I have. You know what I'm saying?
I
Yeah.
And
love
they
it.
just take it for
Mhm.
what they need it for, you know?
It's
Yeah.
it's kind of just like I mean, the fitness side is maybe thinking about how soccer, right? Like
Hmm.
you work really hard to get to a level, but then you have to maintain it. But
Yeah.
the getting to the hard level is all the hard work,
Yeah.
but then the maintaining it can be like, less time each day. And I think that is applicable
Yeah.
to the mental, the emotional,
Uh-huh.
spiritual,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's kind of,
Yeah.
so it's just like grit it, live it, and then
Yeah.
and then you can just kind of cruise after you just every day check in with yourself, and
See where you're
Mhm.
at
so
and
good.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
So good.
totally. No, you actually like hit it on the head, because you actually, when you get to our level, like professional level, it's less about the physical part. Like, because
Oh,
we've
for
done
sure.
all the physical work, if you will. Yeah, you have to
Mhm.
maintain
Mm,
fitness and do these things, but we're actually
Yeah.
not as concerned because that doesn't scare us as much.
Right.
It's
Yep.
like
yeah.
we've all been through the hard work physically. It's like, but
Mhm.
mentally and emotionally, you have to always like be at an elite level to
Yeah.
balance like the ebbs and flows of like playing bad and like, just like the negatives and positives of life. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
or
Hmm.
or the for soccer players, especially like the media, like especially
Hmm.
like over in Europe, where it's like if you read the headlines. I saw an interview with Gareth Bale, and
Oh,
he was,
bless him.
I
Oh
absolutely love him.
Who's he for
He's
me and some of our listeners?
yeah, he
so
plays for
yeah,
Wales.
he plays
Oh,
for
okay.
Wales,
All right.
and he's currently at Real Madrid, but he's leaving Real Madrid. I'm not sure where
Yeah.
he's ending up, but he was talking about how at a young age, when he was 16, and I think it was Nottingham, I can't remember the club, but he was talking about how he would look at the headlines. He's like, even if you have a good game and you score a goal, like they might say something positive, but even if you think you played bad, but you actually played good, like the media would maybe praise you. And he said that
Yeah.
his mom told him, he's like, don't read the headlines, because if you think you played well and you did your best, like
Mm.
it's a mentality thing. And I think the media gets to a lot of these like younger players because they think, oh, I'm playing so bad. Like Marcus Rashford, he's a player for Manchester United. He missed that PK in the Euro and his confidence is gone. It's he's lost it mentally. And I think exactly what you're saying, Samantha, about staying at that top level is so hard when you have media, you have all these outside influences that are affecting your every day to day. Like it's hard. And I don't think that gets talked about enough in professional sports.
Yeah, no, 100. And it's the nature of the business, you know,
For
like,
sure.
but at the same time, we have to balance everything. So, Oxygen Plus, just take a
Yes.
little puff of your oxygen, everything will be fine.
Yes, we love to hear it.
It definitely can help you.
Yeah.
Even just regular breathing. I always
relaxation.
say you don't have to, to relax. You don't have to breathe the Oxygen Plus, but just nasal, slow, deep breaths really can do wonders to kind of bring that balance back. Breath work for me has been super important in leveling out and just getting in touch. And so, I mean, that's another cool thing that I think you have to have if you're an athlete. You have to know how to breathe.
Of course.
Yeah,
for sure. And talking about kind of staying at the top of your level every day, what has probably been, one of the most difficult situations that you've had to go through, maybe to get to that place of like, hey, you know what, I have these certain things in check. Like, what was a struggle of that maybe?
I think probably the biggest struggle that I had in my sport, like even like player in person, obviously it was quite challenging,
sure.
was when I was a rookie at Chicago, or in the league, and Chicago was my team. I got a really bad injury. I got kicked in the face. And so, it was horrible. But like the problem wasn't being kicked in the face. Like the backstory was like, I used to be an attacker when I was younger. And so I transitioned to become a center back to be on the team, obviously.
Sure.
And so center back is defender, by the way, for the listeners.
And me, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So from scoring goals to preventing goals is quite the mental shift, first of all, for the listeners.
Sure.
But but basically, so I was going through that all season, which was fine because I was playing next to a really good center back, and our team was okay and blah blah blah. But then when I got kicked in the face, it just put so much doubt in my brain that I wasn't supposed to be maybe in that position or doing, playing soccer at that time. It was like a lot of just life doubt. And I was like, see, if I wasn't doing this, I would have gotten kicked in the face. I would have gotten a concussion, like all the physical things, obviously setbacks wouldn't have happened. So it just, that part physically was probably, it sounds ridiculous, easy to recover from because I got a free nose job. I had surgery. I sat out for the rest of the season. I was fine. You know what I mean? I was fine, but like mentally and emotionally, I was not fine. You know what I'm saying? I was like, this is crazy ridiculous. So it took me a while to kind of get over the fact that like what I was doing was meant to be where I was. It was just a physical setback. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's like soccer is one of those sports where, even for me, when I play college soccer, even now when I play kind of in some leagues, like if I miss a goal, because I'm playing attacker more or less, and I think about it for the rest of the night. Like I go to bed and I'm like, man, I miss that open opportunity.
It does haunt you. Yeah.
It haunts you. And so for these professional athletes and for you, like being able to go into it next game and say, hey, you know what? That was last game. Today's a whole new day. Or even in the game, like as a center back, like maybe someone pushes through on goal, they score a goal and you're like, oh crap, like I could have done better. And some center backs will just lose it and then they lose their confidence. But being able to be strong enough and say, hey, it happened. It's a mistake. We're going to rebound and we're going to score a goal and it's okay. And then clean slate.
Let it go.
No, it's hard. Yeah, exactly. You just have to have a strong mentality. Like what's next,
For sure.
What's next is going to be maybe better, maybe not. But I like it. To me, it's like landing in the moment, right?
Yeah.
Like we talk about that a lot, like, because it's just like such an awesome way to live. You can't go back and score that goal even in that, right? Like it's
in your dream, maybe.
Pretty sure. Oh, and that might be good. That might be a good way to
visualization.
Visual.
Yeah, is that something you do, Samantha?
Yeah, it is. It's very prevalent in sports in general, visualization, because it helps you, especially like I mean, in general, people should do it. I think I'd recommend it,
Mhm.
but like it's a lot of like a method that athletes use when they get injured because
Mhm.
obviously sometimes you're physically you're limited a lot, and
Right.
obviously if you get like an injury that's like to your legs, like our soccer, I can't use my legs for work or whatever, then I have to
Mhm.
visualize and keep like my brain and my body connected. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So then when
Yeah.
you do start playing again, it's still connected. It doesn't feel like my brain's telling me one thing and my body can react, So
Mhm.
Right.
yeah.
I
No.
do that with golf. Like I'm a recreational golfer,
Yeah.
but I have fun all the time. And that's exactly how I started learning. I like had a few lessons, and then I just would replay how it felt in my brain afterwards, and it
Yeah.
Mhm.
really helped.
It's
And
very
Yeah.
real.
yeah, it is real. I mean, because that's where everything is happening in your brain. The body is just our like manifestation of it. Like all the
Exactly.
experiences is just like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's real, right?
Right.
Like
Exactly. At that. Yeah.
Exactly.
For
So
sure.
true.
It's yeah, it's important. Are there any like tactics like when something bad happens in a game? Like, is there anything that you kind of go to of like, okay, here's how I'm gonna like reset? Like, is it just a simple like, oh, that happened, or is it something that you kind of have to do to get back to that place again as a center back?
Yeah, yeah, kind of. Now it's more internal because I'm older and more emotionally stable on the pitch.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, like if I made a mistake or I mean
Mhm.
even now, but it's not as more of like I don't think people would notice it. It's not as an outwardly like act
Right.
as when I was younger.
Expression.
Yeah,
Yeah.
expression. And so I would curse a lot.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And just like not a lot, like a sentence, but just a couple of curse words just to like
Right.
get it out. And then I'm like, okay, I
Yep.
feel better. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I
It's
know.
just like
Exactly.
It's the
you know
best.
how that is. You
Oh,
should
yeah.
release the negative, and then you're like, okay, I'm back. But
Yep.
now in my brain, I just like kind of maybe like slap the side of my leg or like do something that's a little less, maybe more family friendly. So it's not as obvious, but my frustration is obviously since, we're on the older side of things, we're more mature. We have kiddos on the field that are like, God,
Right.
they're half my age now. Do you know what I'm saying? So I have to
Exactly.
like be more of like a role model of like if I make a mistake, then they can see like it's not that big of a deal to just move on quicker. Do you know what I'm saying? When I was
Yeah.
younger, I would like
Totally.
hang on to it, like, and everyone would see I'm hanging on to it, so it would
Yep.
affect other people. But yeah.
Yeah. That's especially as a professional athlete, you have a lot of eyeballs on you. So it's like
Yeah.
the way that you act, it's like, okay, at the end of the day, like think about how other people are going to perceive you. And it's like, people are always watching you. And I think it goes back even to like, what you're doing for these kids, that they're looking up to you, like you're a role model. And so like, you want to be able to set this, image to everyone that like, hey, like I have it, together, being able to be mature enough to be a leader, and to know that eyeballs are on you. So super
Exactly.
important.
Samantha, who are your eyeballs on in the world? Who that really impacted you the most, and why?
Well, when I was younger, I guess when I was younger, I obviously was a fan of like other soccer players, women's soccer players when I was younger. One being obviously Mia Hamm, Shannon Box. They were like really, I guess dominant in my field when I was so small, like 10. So in terms of like, I look up to them or like their image impacted me very real,
Okay.
right? But
Yeah.
then like as I go on in life and when people who I'm interacting with, like there was pretty much like three, I would say like maybe three chapters or three like kind of times in life where there's like a real pivot. Cause I mean, in the development of my sport is really like between 10 and 14 is really critical. So that
Mhm.
time frame basically when I was being developed as a player and obviously just growing into like an adolescent, I had a coach who helped me understand the game from a tactical perspective. So that's
For
like
sure.
the X's and O's,
Yeah.
So like
Mhm.
not a lot of kids get the privilege to have like that education on the sport when you're
Yeah.
so young, especially in America, because we just don't do that. But
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
yeah, so it was so I think that helped me on the like when I became pro because I was able to adapt quicker to like maybe changing position or like changing systems and
Right.
formations and how we play. So that
sure.
person helped. And then pretty much when I turned 14 to 18, that's when I started playing for the youth national team. And that coach pretty much helped me develop like I guess the foundation, if you will, of like
Right.
what my game was going to look like
Mhm.
as I entered into college. So it's kind
Okay.
of like people who like were almost like very crucial at very crucial times,
Yeah,
time
for
frames. Do you
sure.
know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? That kind of
yeah.
like shaped like me as a person and a player. So it's kind of
Yeah.
strange.
But all on the field, huh? That was where you
Yeah.
found them, the eyeballs going
They
back.
were my
Yeah, just
coaches. Yeah.
okay, cool.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
my coaches. And then
Or
obviously,
the famous.
yeah. Yeah. And then obviously, like the famous people are kind of like when you're younger because you're like
You look
dreaming
up,
about what you
yeah.
want to be and stuff like that. And then the
Right.
people who helped me are like my coaches. Yeah.
Yeah.
Samantha, are you friends with all like the currently famous soccer people? Like, you know, like the ones we
Yeah,
saw
I mean, a
like in the world.
couple.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
Because they all
neat.
play in America. I'm like acting like I'm in Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like forget where I am standing sometimes. So I'm like,
Exactly.
oh, I'm back.
Do they
No,
like all
play.
like your posts and stuff on Instagram? Is that
Well,
like
you know,
how it works?
yeah, you know how it is. My friends do, and obviously, and I
Sure.
talk to them and stuff. So it's quite funny
Yeah.
because people are like, "Oh, do you know so and so?" I'm
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, that's my teammate." You know, like we work
Right.
together, and they're
That's
like,
cool.
"What?"
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, coaches I think have a huge impact on players, just because I hear all the time about, like, especially in high school, like, oh, I had a really bad coach. So like I still remember when I was playing freshman baseball, like we had like a bunch of kids quit just because of the baseball program and how bad the coaching was. And
Yeah.
it just like left such a bad like impression for a lot of other people that were just coming into it. Or, you know, you'd like have the older seniors talking about like how bad the coaching was or something like that. And it's like those coaches have a huge impact on players, especially like the players that want to think about taking it further. Like,
Yeah.
I never wanted to go play college baseball because I was just like, I just lost the love for the sport, and I grew up playing it, and I switched to soccer, and my coach was amazing. And he saw the energy and the drive in me, and he invested his time and energy to kind of motivate me. He's like, hey, I think you put in the work, like you're going to see results. And at the end of the day, I went on to play college soccer. So I look at him, even though I had him for 1 year, and the impact that he made on my life, and, you know, ultimately like my love for soccer. So coaches are huge.
No, they are. And then, like, obviously we can't do anything. Like, when I say we, I just mean people who are involved with like any extracurricular sport or whatever. It's like we can't really do much without education. So it's always going to be, I tell the kids, I'm like, well, you can't do art or you can't do soccer without school. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're always going to be a student, whatever, student artist, student athlete, blah, blah, blah. Like, you guys need to go to school, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, because I always talk about soccer, but I'm like, no, school has a role too. And that's part of like my whole balance formula. You know what I mean? I was like, do you think my mom was letting me go to practice without turning in my homework? No.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's super important. We always like to ask this question too. If you could change one thing in our world, what would it be and why? It's a loaded question.
I know, because I'm just trying to figure out like what one thing can I choose that affects a lot of other things.
Right, for sure.
Change one thing in the world. Oh my god. I don't know. My philanthropic mind and like is like, oh, I wish there was no like health problems or stuff for people, but you know what I mean? But I mean, like, if that wasn't like really a case or something, I would probably want to change like how American culture is. So I would kind of want it to be like where kids always had both, like you always have school and something. So like whatever that is, like when you go to like school, they try to get you into like whatever your other thing is going to be. You're going to be a student, whatever. So then the kids would whatever you did, you'd always have to be practicing like that balance thing, and then always have to be into things that make your day longer, so you don't get in like trouble or I don't know, just get into things you're not supposed to be getting into, which is everyone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
then
a
you build more
beautiful
skills,
vision.
Yeah, I
think,
love that.
when you're older. So maybe if our culture was like, oh, you go to school and like, you, not that, you know, teachers and people are forcing you to choose something, but you have options, and then you maybe by like 6th grade you have to choose like student whatever, and you're always going to be into like swimming or art or blah 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 for like the remainder of high school and middle school.
That is so good. It's like apprenticeship. It's like what it used to be. Like attorneys used to not go to law school. They used to like follow another attorney until they learn. Same with doctors. You know,
actually,
it's like so
they would just be more connected in like a more productive way
Mhm.
Yeah,
from a
for
younger
sure.
age. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. I think that's so cool. What a
Yeah.
beautiful vision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's-
So I don't know what we call that, but balance is obviously the key.
Right.
Yeah.
It's always resorting
It's
to
just
balance.
like beginning to know what and exploring what you love and really living it at a younger age, like that's something that I'm totally a fan of. And I think, that's kind of, it has to be the role of the parent, right?
Mhm.
Like eventually.
100%,
Mhm.
exactly. But it's obviously it gets hard because like you said, the parent, obviously it's gonna always like fall on us as parents when we have kids and stuff. It's like keep your kid active, keep them doing this so
Yeah.
they can avoid XYZ. But
Yep.
it's like if we didn't have that, like if I didn't have soccer and I only just did school and I was just kind of like a floating through life, then obviously I'm just going to give that mentality to my kid, which is like not my fault, but that's just all I know. You know what I'm saying?
That's what you know. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think people today are getting to know more and expand their mind a lot and how they can, really live a healthful, meaningful, impactful life. So I think that's pretty awesome. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, I've got kind of a fun topic that we can talk about now.
Okay.
Oh, good.
So obviously the World Cup is coming up this fall. So it's supposed to be actually like it would probably be in the final stages.
Are we going? Is that what you got? You got us tickets, Ben?
I wish. It will be in 2026. It'll be.
Oh yeah, you'll be there in America.
It'll be in America. So there's.
Okay, let's go to that one.
Portland and all those amazing cities. But it's always a great question to ask. Who do you think's going to win it this year? And if you want to say the U.S.,
no. I don't know about that. They have an interesting situation. They got goalkeeper situation. They got all types of situations, question marks. I'm not too sure how we're going to be looking, but I always root for America. But at the same time, I'm like so critical.
Yeah,
for sure. Who's your team then? Who do you think has a roster, the manager, the tactics to win it this year?
Oh gosh, I'm not really sure about who I think to win. I will say I have some favorites that I mean, I always really like England just because obviously England is the home of football. And I'm like, how are you guys not winning more major tournaments?
Southgate.
The talent,
simple answer. Southgate.
I'm like, what the heck? Anyways, they trouble me, but they're always fun to watch. But I think Spain is actually gonna do pretty well. They have a lot of young players, but I think that but I think that they've actually can probably pull it together, and I think the time frame of the World Cup helps them with more preparation and stuff. Listeners, I just want you to know the World Cup is usually in the summer, so if you just now started liking soccer, it's not usually in November, but because of COVID and things, we're catching up on
and
the
calendar. Heat too, I think, because Qatar right now is
not really
hot,
because the women's Euro is actually so because they didn't want to throw the calendar off too much and disrupt the women's Euro, they let the women's Euro do its thing pretty much.
Yeah, for sure.
And then push the World Cup back so then the tournaments don't conflict because they're really big tournaments. Yeah,
those are huge tournaments.
So a lot of soccer this year, which is fun. So I'm going to say Spain will be my favorite. I don't know if they're going to win, but I think Spain's a favorite for me just because of the development aspect. England is going to be fun to watch as usual. And then we hope America can get it together. Like at this point, I'm so critical of them, but I'm like, come on, guys, get it together. Like you should be better than this.
Oh, for sure.
So, can I ask a follow-up question to that, Ben? Because Americans in general, I'll just say myself, and so I don't insult all Americans, are like a little bit like learning about how to really appreciate the game. What is the best setup to watch a game, the World Cup, to watch it? How do you kind of like where do you go? Do you do it at home? Do you have parties with friends? Do you go to like a certain kind of bar?
All of the above.
Really?
Yeah.
There's no
it's
like
kind
best
of like
way?
Super Bowl. It's kind of like Super Bowl.
They'll have huge viewing parties, especially in Minnesota. There's this place called Brits Pub. Shout out Brits Pub.
I think that burned down.
No, I think it's still up. I went to watch the Ukraine versus England game. So I was born in Ukraine. So we went and watched the Ukraine versus England game, and all the English fans like, oh, we beat Ukraine like 6-1, and I'm like, Ukraine's like not gonna beat a Spain or a Argentina type team. Like I'm just happy they made it to the round. But Brits Pub has a beautiful open grass patio, and then
Right.
they project the game on like a giant wall.
Okay.
So going to events like that, because I
Yeah.
think what I love.
So we are having events like that.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
there'll be
Yes.
plenty actually.
All
There'll
right,
be a
okay.
lot.
It's
So
the
you'll be
community aspect.
Let's
you'll
go to
have to
some.
be living under a rock to not even know like where they like literally.
Oh,
There'll be
it's
your
yeah.
Instagram and all of your feeds will be
Enemy.
like, oh, World Cup party and blah, blah,
Okay.
Yeah.
blah, blah. Yeah.
Brit's Pub
Mhm.
is
Can we maybe
anyone
host
here.
one too as
Yeah,
O+?
I mean, we
Like,
could.
would that
Yeah,
be fun to
we
like
could
find a
definitely.
venue? And...
That would definitely be a
Just
good
go to
idea.
one.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, I think Spain's an amazing team. I always have to put up France, obviously, as a contender. The only thing
course.
is, I'm worried about ego with Kylian Mbappe. He signed a massive deal with PSG, who's a really great club, has a lot of talent, a lot of money, but in terms of like championships, like I feel like they've struggled in the past few years, and I'm worried about Kylian Mbappe with his deal now going to play for the national team, where he's going to be playing with Benzema, who plays for Real Madrid, and Real Madrid just won the Champions League. So it's going to be interesting because Kylian Mbappe was about to go to Real Madrid, but then said no. And so it's going to be some interesting tension maybe. And I think that's where the whole mentality and the mental thing could really impact a team like France, where you have a lot of big star talents on that team, a lot of ego, but like if they can't pull it together and play as a team, like, it could be an early exit. I have Germany because I love watching the Bundesliga. So
yeah,
they're, probably won't win it this year. I think some of their players are getting older. They have some good young talent, but I think Brazil, you have to say, is a definite shout just for the pure talent. Argentina is definitely up there as well. So there's some big teams,
as
and
usual. It'll be so exciting. The World Cup is fun.
It will. So to the point of US, what do you think is holding the US men's national team back from winning the World Cup?
And I guess you have to answer on like the mental, emotional level for them, right? Because that's what it boils down to at this level, right? That's what I think we've assessed.
No, I mean it's difficult, and it'll be I think all of them. It'll be their first tournament, like actual major tournament that counts. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's a difficult environment to just go into if you've never experienced something like that. Obviously, in a weird year where it's not usually in this, in the fall, and it's in this, they replaced it with different calendar things and such. So it's kind of strange, and they don't have as many games to lead up to it, you know what I mean, because of the calendar. So they have quite a bit of a break until they meet again. I think they meet again in September. So I think my thing is always like tactics, because in America you don't have to worry about like our mentality and our work ethic. Like that's kind of like ingrained in us as athletes, you know what I'm saying? So but in the global aspect of playing football, it's tactically like who's more, tactically sound pretty much, and who can pair it with all the science stuff of being fit, physical, fast, whatever. So tactically we might not be able, up to par on some games, but like we'll be up there, but we won't, because it's not like our player development pool is exactly like Europe, where we foster certain things at a younger age, like the education of the game and stuff. But I mean, surely competitive, 100%. But it'll just be interesting. So it's maybe tactical a little bit behind, but well, hopefully not too far behind, but we'll see.
Right. Well, we'll see. I think they have some players. I think with Christian Pulisic and Western McKinney, they have some.
Not worried about them. Yeah.
Right. They have some top
defending.
tier. They're
defending world-class players and the tactics of defensive like principles and such. That's more difficult to adjust in a tournament scheme rather than go score goals, because we have that lockdown. I think we'll be fine.
You have the goals. It's that tactics at the end of the day of just like being able to compose against some of these top nations. Like, I don't know. It's interesting.
When you say tactics, you mean like strategy on the field? Is that what that means?
Literally X's and O's. Yeah. So it's like, how do we stop people from scoring? How do we stop people from like exploiting our weaknesses and stuff like that?
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Just tactically, just moving as a team, playing as a unit, like just
Yeah.
being able to like possess the ball. Whenever I watch the US, it's like sometimes I feel like they just don't like possess the ball enough, because it's just sometimes feels like frantic play where it's like just kick, and we'll try to outpace, versus like some like Spain. You watch Spain, they just pass the ball and it's just beautiful passing, beautiful movement. Everyone's moving off the ball. And that's like the tactics piece.
Yeah.
But
Where
that's how they learn to play when they're small. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
So like for us, thank God we have a lot of players in our potential starting 11 who play in Europe. So they've kind of gotten into that, you know what I mean? The
It's
actual
huge.
way of playing properly. Do you know what I mean? So they're way more skilled than like our past players. So I think it'll be a better showing. Yeah.
For sure. In terms of like academy, in terms of like development, where do you think the US could get better in terms of like development of players?
Oh my God, this is another podcast.
I know.
I promise.
We don't even have
all right,
the
she's
time.
coming back. All right.
Yeah, we don't even have the time to get into that. But just know there's work to be done, and I'm gonna work on it. For sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. I think that is a second follow-up podcast.
It could be a
maybe.
whole podcast. That's for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about it.
Exactly. Oxygen Plus FC is what you should call it.
Oxygen Plus FC. Yes,
Yeah.
I would love
Oh,
that.
can we please?
Like, maybe I can name our team name to.
You can do a seasonal one.
I wanted to
ask
be. Remember,
people
I wanted
about World Cup stuff. You know, it'll be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you can help. Maybe we can get that going.
Go.
That would be awesome. I always wanted to have a soccer team, like even an internal like team league where we play like other companies in Minnesota.
Oh my God, that would be great.
And we call ourselves the nose breathers.
I can't. Oh my God. That is too funny. It's like that mixes with like, what's that funny soccer movie with Will Ferrell so long ago?
Kicking and Screaming?
That one, yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
Get some inspiration for that, and then we can throw it together with adults.
I love it. I love it.
Oh my gosh. Well, today has been super fun. Just to get to know you better, and just to be able to have just such an amazing athlete who's doing amazing things, you know, in the community and on the field. You know, where can our listeners, you know, follow you in terms of social media?
Yeah, so I'm predominantly on Instagram. It's my favorite platform, the easiest platform to use now.
Right.
So it's just at Sueña Cita, which is SUENACITA. And pretty much that's where I am, you know, personal profile. And then the one for the brand and the kids and the program is better.cas, which is CASS. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome.
Well, I will give you a follow. Oxygen Plus is already following you.
Yes, we are.
So that is awesome. We're so grateful and truly support everything about what you're doing. So thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having me. It was so fun talking to you guys.
Hey, thanks for listening to We're Not Blowing Hot Air, hosted by Lauren Karlstrom and me, Ben Johnson. Today's episode was produced by Heidi Norman and was edited and engineered by Scott Deming. Do us a solid and share, subscribe, rate, and review wherever you podcast. And follow Oxygen Plus on all social media platforms for the latest and greatest happenings at O+.